Would that work?
All right, well, welcome everyone to Community Light Hours with Alicia Wolfe and myself, Susanne Conrad. Today is January 25th, and we are going to be doing an interactive live coaching workshop on how to have effective communication and get bleep, bleep it done. Okay, we're going to keep it PG-13 so that all of your children in the future can watch this show. And I want to just say a little bit about Alicia and then really let her take the reins and take us through some fun stuff that she's prepared. But what you should know about Alicia is that I met her really deeply through her certified coach training with me and through a company that we've worked with together, Arc'teryx Equipment, powerful company that really supports people in having a live it committed life. And somehow the combination of all of that and who she is as a human being led her to create her business, Integrate Well. She's the mother of 2 children, and she's one of the few people that said, you know, Susanne, I want to travel around the world and I want to take my family. And I was like, yeah, great, write it as a goal. And of course, I always stand for people. I'm going to tell you what, she is doing it. So she's calling us from Costa Rica.
Yes, yeah. Currently in Costa Rica.
Currently in Costa Rica. So that's Alicia. And she is going to be leading on the Lightyear.co platform an integrated leadership course that's going to be every Thursday afternoon during the month of March. So this call is really for people who've taken that course or who want to take that course to have an experience and live coaching today for whatever it is that you know that you want to be able to get done. So we just want to be straightforward about it, that's actually the purpose of the call, is that you have a direct experience. So our goal is that at least 3 of you will get coached on the call today. So the only way I can really stop talking is to mute myself, and really thank Alicia for making this happen. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Alicia.
Thanks, Suze. It's always interesting to have someone else like introduce you or like, you know, speak their experience of you. And obviously, Susanne, you have been like, I think like my husband and maybe my parents and children, one of the most life-changing figures in my life. Just all the tools you've given me, and so many of the people on this call can obviously say the same thing. But really, I felt so called to lead integrated leadership because the vision and goals combined with integrated leadership is really what made my life possible right now. My life of living abroad, of stepping into a possibility, releasing the limiting beliefs and all the work that we do in level 1 or in vision and goals, but really like the getting the bleep done part is like what I needed, and that's how I made it happen. So when I was connecting with Jen Fowler and Susanne about how I can get involved in Lightyear in 2023, integrated leadership felt so natural. And so I'm really excited to be doing that starting March 9th. Yeah, Thursday afternoons. If you feel called to do that, or if you like feel lit up by this work that we're doing today, this will just be a taste, and you can come and hang out with me in March. But today we're going to be talking about, and we titled it, Susanne and I aligned on the title, Effective Communication to Get Bleep Done. And you can insert bleep whatever you want your chosen word of bleep to be. But really, we're going to talk about how to get things done through effective communication. I felt really called to lead this topic specifically because I have experienced many states of frustration and stuckness in bringing my goals and my projects to life for a very long time. And I still do, to be honest. Like, I don't care, the most like Lightyear trained person still feels those experiences, but what we have are the tools to kind of break through those things and to work through them. But what I have learned was actually what it was a breakdown in communication that was causing that. And by being an active listener and an active leader, I am able, in most cases, to keep my project moving in a more effective and, quite frankly, a more fun way. There's less friction, there's less tension about it. And I want to clarify too how I'm defining projects. And Suze, I'd love your opinion on this as well, or your take on it. But a project is not like project management. It can be, but a project is a goal that you're working towards. or that you're working on achieving. A project can be getting your children out the door in the morning for school. A project can be planning a family vacation. A project can literally be a project that you're working on in a team setting or in your career. And really, your life is a project. So I want to just ground us in that language, that when we talk about project management or moving projects forward, everything's a project. And I think you can probably think of like 5 things today that you could classify as projects. And most often what happens is, or what's required is that there are other people to enroll in your project. So very few things we're doing like on our own. There are people to align with. There might be people who are helping bring it to life. There might be people likely people who are really critical in like getting a part of something, accomplished. And breakdown in communication can be a barrier to success, is often a barrier to success. When we aren't communicating effectively, we can't get bleep done. Insert whatever bleep you want. So I would love to share a story with you where I have experienced this happening. And as a trained listener and leader, I was able to identify the breakdown and offer some leadership and communication tools that shifted the entire result, basically. But while I would love for you as the participant to think about where in your project, your goals, your days, your communication, you have felt stuck, or you are feeling stuck, or frustrated, or maybe even resentful. And then I'd love, like Susanne said, to offer at least three people coaching who would like support in getting unstuck. So think about yourself. You're gonna take away more about what you experience in this versus what I say. So take the learning, let it relate to it, and consider your own experience too. So in 2021, last year, I was asked to support and consult a new team interimly for like a 90-day period. And as I took that on in the first few weeks, many of you as coaches and consultants and leaders, you go in and you just observe, right? You listen, you learn, you're observing what's going on around you. That's like the first step. And there was one meeting that I was in, a team meeting. I was just observing their team meeting that I sat in on as an observer, and right away, I sensed a disconnect. And I sensed frustration by everybody. Everybody on this meeting was like feeling disconnected and frustrated. And what I recognized was there was a massive breakdown in communication. So there were 2 things that I could identify that were happening. There were unclear requests by the leader or the facilitator, like with no buy-whens and no conditions of satisfaction. And there were these like uncommitted responses from the people on the receiving end. Okay, sounds good. Yeah, whatever. Can anyone relate to this example where you've maybe witnessed or experienced a version of this, maybe an unclear response, like a request from somebody else where you're like, what are they even asking me to do? Or what am I even experiencing? Or maybe an uncommitted response from someone. I know my partner often responds with sure. Does anybody else get sure? Like, I would really love to go to the beach today. Or I'd love to go to the beach. Let's leave at 5. Okay, sure. Sure? Or yes, I want to dig a little deeper here. That's my job as the requester, or the leader, to like dig a little bit deeper and nudge for that committed response and listen for that. So anyway, as a result of that experience in that meeting that I was in, as a result of this disconnect, what was happening was the facilitator or the leader of the team was doing all the work that the team members were supposed to be doing. They were doing everything because to that person, it was easier to just do the work than to depend on them to get things done. So it's easier to do the work of like 10 people than to enroll them and get them to commit and do the actual work itself. And as a consequence of that, the rest of the team wasn't engaged. They weren't empowered. They weren't learning. They weren't capable, and they weren't able to like step into their potential and into their responsibilities and fulfill on their responsibilities. So it was just like all around breakdown. And I felt very lucky to have the tools that I have to be able to witness and sort of offer some tools almost immediately. But I don't know, before I share maybe what I did, I love to just hear from one or two people about like, yeah, I've been in an experience like that. And maybe it's in a team setting like I shared similarly, or maybe it's in your family. I would just love to hear it. And just, yeah, just know that this is like a relatable concept, which I know that it is. Yeah, Melinda and Goldie.
As long as can you hear me okay out here? Yeah,
yes,
okay. Perfect. Well, you know what? I noticed it around the holidays. We do a lot of like group gifts and things like that. And so something just really simple, but can lead to a lot of frustration and led to some frustration was, hey, let's go in on a gift for this person. You know, they like this and this. What do you guys think? And like, oh yeah, they love that or whatever. And it's like, okay, who wants to get it? And like crickets. So it's sometimes it's like people can be really on board and enrolled, and then like who wants to do it? It's just ghosting. So I think that can happen. But then also the whole like sure sounds good, and then when it comes time to actually do the work, people the sure sounds good wasn't a commitment on their end, right? Where for me, I'm like, okay, sure sounds good, I've got enrollment. Well, it's not always that way when there's not that really clear yes and those really clear by whens. And so yeah, just simple gift giving.
Yeah,
where it
so
showed up
relatable
for me recently. Mostly because I'm not working much.
Yeah, but I feel like the holidays like really amplify things like that when you're bringing people together from like, you know, different groups, or it's so important to get so laser clear on that communication and those requests. Yeah, thanks. That's such a good example. Thanks, Melinda. Yeah, MJ, is it Mary Grace?
Yes, Mary Grace or MG.
Hey,
So
MG, sorry, yeah, MG.
We can pick any day. And today I had it happen where I think I would love coaching on this, but I think I was too specific. And because the group I was talking to isn't used to like you said, taking responsibility for communication, I asked for a specific thing. There was like, oh, swirl, that's going to be big. That's going to take a long time, right? And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So what I hear you say is A, B, and C. So all I need from you is, when do you think you can get it done by? Like, whenever it is fine. Like, and I even like fell back on the sword and was like, whenever it is, it's fine. But they couldn't get past, you've asked me to do this big, hard thing that I wasn't planning on doing. Right. And I was just like, no, I don't need you to figure everything out in this conversation. I just need you to be like, is that a 4-day effort? Is that a 40-day effort? Like, what are we talking about here?
Yes.
But I wonder if I was being too like aggressive. I don't know.
I without knowing the specifics, obviously I don't know if
Sure.
it was too aggressive. It was too aggressive for sure. I mean, yes, no, I'm going to go on a limb and say it wasn't that you were too aggressive, and that was on the receiver's end to kind of experience for themselves. But was it that the ask seemed like it was like too grandiose? Like, oh, how could we possibly? Is that sort of the response?
I think it was I think it was out of left field for them.
So maybe there was some context.
Like, do you know how busy I am? Do you know how many people depend on me? And I was like, no, I don't know any of that. I was just, you know, like.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. That's it's a great example. I think like context is such an important part of a request too, oftentimes if it's required. And then there is maybe a next step, an opportunity to get a little bit deeper and get curious. No, I don't know what you're up against or what your workload is or whatever the situation is. That's your job to listen for that uncommitted response and then to dig a little bit deeper till you can get to a place where you feel you're both aligned and you can get a yes. And Susan and I talked yesterday about we were sort of aligning for this call briefly, and she made such a great call. It's like, when is the right time to pick up a phone versus via email versus via text versus whatever? And And sometimes we put out these requests via email, or and it feels a little bit like it comes out of left field for people, or it feels a bit transactional. And there's an opportunity to pick up the phone and again, Mary Grace, I don't know what the situation was, but to pick up the phone and like, let's really connect. Let's get deeper in it together so that I can understand and we can get to a commitment and alignment there.
Yeah. And that's what, I mean, we got on a video call because it was like, oh, wait.
Yeah. And
like there's misunderstanding, like.
Yeah. So Mary Grace, this is going to be things that and yet it's going to be really helpful to re-presence it for your team. So let's have Alicia tell this story. So I'm curious, just so I know, are you continuing to work in like the data computer information systems world?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do other people on the line have in their mind, you don't necessarily have to share, but a picture of a frustrating conversation where you wanted to be more effective, either as the speaker or the listener? Because what Alicia's about to share will help us shine some light on how to deal, and we'll come back to the exact moment that Mary Grace is in. Okay, so just by a show of physical or virtual hands, do people have a sense of something that in the recent, let's say last 2 weeks, was frustrating? And I'll share even, can I share?
Please, call on Suzanne.
I now do most of my healthcare cash pay because I'm, approaching 65. I have a strategy, it doesn't really matter, but it's kind of exciting. So out here in Utah, there was a billing situation I had to move through. And what was so interesting, you guys, that I've designed training programs for people so I can hear, like when a man bags my groceries at Trader Joe's, I know what training he's been through, right? You trust me? I know, I probably designed it. So there was a woman, all she was trained to do was to de-escalate. I wasn't even escalating, but she started to like stroke me. I said, look, I'm fine. All I need is either you or someone who has the power to say yes or no, or to give me other committed responses, and it'll be fine. You're doing a great job. I know you're being recorded. So I want to just share that in that moment, I needed to remember all my Lightyear training so that I didn't accidentally escalate her while she was trying to de-escalate me, because none of it was all based on what? Personality, not effectiveness. So, okay, everybody's got their thing. Let's hear the story and then let's go. This is perfect, Mary Grace. And plus we need to go to Ethiopia again. Okay, so I'm muting.
Thanks. That's a great example, Mary Grace and Sue. So after this like first meeting, now also for me, like as someone who, and I think some of you maybe can relate to this, I'm like pulling my hair out because I can see the breakdown and I'm like, oh God, like I want to help, but my job is not to just fix it and come charging in here. Otherwise I might come across as too aggressive. So afterwards, what I did was I called the facilitator right away and I just said, how does that feel for you? Like, how was that call for you? And how have these calls, these meetings been for you? Same thing. Oh, I feel so frustrated. It's just easier to do all the work. I'm really starting to resent my team because they're not stepping up. I'm like, yeah, of course they're not stepping up. They don't know how to step up. They don't know what you're asking them to do, and they don't know how to commit to it. So and he was kind of creating a story about the people on the receiving end. He was making up his mind. They're not capable. They're not this. And there's a beautiful Lightyear principle, many of you know it, called manage conversations, not people. Manage conversations, not people. I need like a refresher of this on a regular basis. But really, what this principle allows us to do is to not feel like we have to manage the people, but allows us to manage the conversation. So it allows us to not put judgment or label the people that are in this conversation with us, but allows us to really put our energy into managing the conversation and less pressure to manage these people, right? Because we can't really control people necessarily, but we can control the conversation. So our job as leaders, and we're all leaders of our lives and of our families and of our jobs in some capacity, our job is to listen for when we hear something is off and then dig into it. Susanne uses a great metaphor of a gong. If you remember her like gong metaphor, it's like when something lands and it's powerful and there's a commitment and we feel connected in this line, it's like gong, there we go, she's got the gong. It's like a solid gong. And I know that you know what it feels like when it doesn't land and it's like tink. And you're like, wait, where's the gong? Like I wanted to really feel that in my body, right? So our job is to listen for those uncommitted or like that disconnect and those uncommitted conversations, and then to dig in. So with this team specifically, I enrolled the team on the concept and the principle and tool of promises and requests and the 4 committed responses of a leader. So a promise is very similar to sort of how we structure goals in Lightyear, is I promise X by Y or by time Y. So I promise to do something. I promise to get you that, I'm just thinking of Mary Grace's example. I don't really know what exactly it was, but I promise to get you that form by Thursday. That's a promise. And that's something we can commit to, or like we can sort of be confident that that person will deliver on it. As a leader or someone, a request is I request X by time Y. So a request is similar format, but a request by X by time Y. I request that Colette meet me for dinner on Friday at 6 o'clock. I'm to Costa Rica, it's beautiful. I request that you, and my job is to listen for a committed response. So if Colette responds, sure, sounds good. I'm like, girl, are we meeting? Like, what's the deal? But what I'm listening for is yes, no, and no is a complete sentence. Colette is allowed to say, no, I will not meet you for dinner. And I hope she'd give me a reason, but it's okay if she doesn't. A commit to commit. Ooh, I can't commit right now, but I'll respond to you by Tuesday with an answer. So yes, no, a commit to commit, and a counter offer. I can't meet you for dinner, but let's do lunch. I'll be there at 12. So a counter offer. So when we're making specific requests of our team members, of our partners, of our children to put their shoes on, set them up for success with a request by X by time Y, and listen for and train the people around you, enroll the people around you to commit with committed responses, which is what I did with this team. And the facilitator, and it wasn't like he was always barking these requests by any means, but everyone started to get enrolled on, I request that you fill out this marketing brief. I don't remember even what it was, by Friday. Can you commit to that? Yes, I can. No, I can't. Commit to commit. I'm swamped right now, to use Mary Grace's example. Don't you know what I'm up against? But I'll get you a response by Friday and let you know. Or a counter offer. I'm sorry, I can't complete it, but I'll pass it off to so-and-so. It's an example I'm making up. So really, once I gave them that framework, it was like, it wasn't an instant thing by any means. Like, it took some practice and some muscle memory, as these things do, but it was just so incredible to see how things started to flow. And in the 90 days that I supported that team, or a little bit longer, I mean, it was life-changing. And not even just getting stuff done, but the feeling that those people all felt and those team members all felt in like, oh man, like the facilitator or leader didn't have to do everything. He was able to really step into what his role was meant to be, was not the person doing the work, but leading the team. And the people who were on the execution end were executing, and they were doing it, and they were thriving, and they were having a blast. And so by simply enrolling that conversation, or enrolling that team in managing conversations, not people, and promises and requests and committed responses, it was a game changer. So there's one other thing I want to say. Can I talk, can I talk about the conversation manager? Yes, okay. So the conversation manager, this is another tool that I gave the team. And a conversation manager is the person who is listening for those things. So they're the ones who are listening for the requests and the promises and the committed responses. And sometimes it's you, like sometimes it's you are that conversation manager. In this case, I asked the team, would anybody like to be this conversation manager who can hold us all lovingly accountable to committing to our communication and having effective communication? So I was really fortunate to have a junior member of the team want to step up and want to develop these listening skills and these leadership skills. And so she volunteered. And so what I did, I don't know, Susan, if I ever told you this, but I like sent her all your videos and I had her watch them. And then I did a little like 90-minute training with her. And I gave this very junior employee in the company permission to interrupt and say, excuse me, I didn't hear was that a yes? Was that a no? Or what's your counter offer? And it just heightened her, it just empowered her so much. And it gave her a tool that I don't even know if she's still with the company, but it gave her a tool that she's going to carry forward forever. But it was just very critical for that team to have someone to hold them accountable. And I volunteered. I was like, y'all, it ain't going to be any of you. It's going to be me because we need this. But fortunately, someone stepped up and it was just really game changing. So that's another tool we offer is the conversation manager as someone that you can appoint, and whether it's yourself or someone else, it's a great opportunity for someone. So that's the story. I could see some head nods, so I know this is resonating with some folks, and I'm not looking at the chat at also, because hopefully you are, but I would just love to hear from, 3 people who would love some coaching from either myself or Susanne on how to, where they're feeling stuck or where they're feeling frustrated or where they'd love to see their communication get more effective so that you can get bleep done and keep your projects and goals moving forward. So if you want to raise your digital hand, or you can just come on, it's a friendly group. We'd love to just hear from you.
Well, and could we, as people are listening in on that, could we just circle back to Mary Grace and just land her with
perfect
her people? So then you knew to escalate it, not escalate, but to like take it into like a live call. What do you feel those folks needed? Like, do you feel like they needed the power to know that they could commit, or that they could counter offer? Or did they just simply need the muscle to be able to have a yes and no? What did you see? Because I think this is pretty real and you're going to help us.
So so 2 things. One is them and the other is me. So the me is where
there's always the 2 things, right?
I mean, they'll be fine. Let's work on me. But I heard that like, you don't know how hard it is for me, right? And that's where I was like, at the end of my email, I was like, let's jump on a call as soon as you can. Because I felt misunderstood, because I was like, I'm not a mean mom. I'm not a mean project manager. I was like, here I am, like coddling you as professionally as possible, because this isn't hard. It's just, we're just exchanging information. I need something from you. So I'm trying to be really nice and get it really easily. And so I felt misunderstood by their escalation, because they felt unseen or insignificant or whatever by my zany request, right? So I felt like I patched them up, but I felt for that split second, like out of control of myself.
Yes.
Like, wait, you didn't understand me. You didn't understand how nice I was trying to be and how I softened the email.
Yeah, Mary Grace. And what I wish for the human race is that we all could learn the tools of being able to manage the conversation instead of the personality. Because you saw you even saw for Alicia, she's like, okay, well, I want to make sure I'm not too aggressive. There's all these ways where we get characterized. And what if it could simply be So for those of you that joined us as we were welcoming everyone, Chrissy and Tanya were just talking about how they both played volleyball. Like if we could all just keep our eyes on the ball, which is the conversation, versus saying, oh, that volleyball player is like high school, you know, they're something with my boyfriend. You know, there's this way we all get in our head with each other. So so could you see yourself, because I can see you doing really essentially the very same thing that Alicia did with her team, like just tooling them up with, look, let's get some of the ball handling skills done here so that it can be about our happiness and our effectiveness, because everyone actually wants to be on a high performance team.
Yes. So I've already written those notes to myself, like level set with the team, give them the tools.
Yeah. I mean, you're really good at that. And I'm going to say, like, it's easy. I'll speak from it's easy for me to forget, start to bend my own ways. Listen to me, everybody. I'll start to incorrectly bend my own ways because there's part of me that really I do care about people. I want to please them. Yet you use the word coddling. People actually don't thrive in coddling. And I know I accidentally do this. I watch your Instagram and how you bred those dogs last year. Like, you are a magnificent being. And we all need the humanity and the love. Yet if you think back, now everybody do this isn't on Alicia's and my flow, but if you think back to the manager or leader that you learned the most from, it's likely the person who coddled you the least and called you up to be and to really perform and to really be clean and clear. So I feel like you are that person for your team, Mary Grace. Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to play with you. Now, other people on the call, I won't play quite like this, but she's advanced volleyball. So what promise or commitment could you make publicly this evening that will empower you? So this isn't about pleasing me. This is about you really getting your feet under yourself with the team. And it would be, just as Alicia said, a promise would be, I promise X by time Y. So is it to level set the team by time? What, it would be something actionable.
Man.
I know.
The reason that's important is because I've been asking someone else to do it.
Right.
For like 3 months. So now it's time. Here we are.
Well, it's time. And you could ask for that conversation manager like she did too, after you teach it.
Yeah.
So what do you see? What will work for you? And plus, I want to just validate you and say, I would work for you.
I can't afford you, Suzanne.
Well, here's what I want to say. You're an honorable person to work for. You just need to know that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I commit to giving these people the keys of, the promise and request and workable responses by the end of our next sprint.
Yes.
That's bogus language 1, 2, 3, February 17th.
Okay, perfect.
February 17th.
And Alicia, can you commit to send the podcast or the video out in the follow-up email so that she'll have it? Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
100%.
And maybe Mary Grace, I'll just offer to send, I'll send you the tools and everything, but send it to them as a pre-read or pre-watch, I should say.
Okay.
And then you can, enroll the conversation, right? Then you can have the conversation. They can come having watched it already and let it resonate. I request you watch this prior to our meeting on February 17th.
They could even watch this and I could say, hi team, I love you. You're the best team. It's a big deal to be in, look, already the invention of a sprint is a genius thing.
Yes.
And then this makes it genius upon genius compounded. And I want to just also take 10 seconds out to say, I want to thank all the engineers that make it possible for us to have the technology in our world today. So I want to just, whether they listen to this or not, I want them to know that they're seen and appreciated by Alicia and I. Amen.
Thanks, Mary Grace. I
Awesome.
promise to send out the tools tomorrow, by end of day tomorrow, for everyone to have.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Thank you so much. Sprint.
Yeah, so let's do some more coaching, Alicia. This is perfect. So I know there's at least two or three more in there. Now, what do you guys sense?
Maybe a family exam. Oh, there's Melinda. Oh, Melinda. Hi. Good to see
When you
you.
call, hello, when you call the previous Melinda, I'm like, what? I don't know where the raise hand is. I didn't raise my hand.
Oh, right. It's so good to see you. I remember we used to be on Mind Gems calls together.
Yes,
Oh my gosh,
yes.
it's so beautiful to see you again.
Thank you. So there's two situations that I can think of, and I'm not sure which one would be best. One similar to the one Susanne brought up. I called the phone company. I entered my bank information in their website so that they take the payment automatically. And every month for the last 3 months, they send me an email saying it didn't work. So I set up an automatic recurring bill payment, but that's not the way I want it. So today was the day I called them to say, this is not working. And they said, oh, actually, this time it works. The payment was taken yesterday. And I said, well, no, it's not taken out of my bank account. So it didn't work. What would you do if I had called 2 days ago and it's been 3 months that you send me an email saying the withdrawal didn't work, you're going to be charged interest? What would you request I do? Like, what can we do? And I left the conversation with call once you receive the email that says the payment didn't go through. And so I wasn't able to get anything. And when we said don't manage the people, manage the conversation, I noticed that I wasn't as usually I escalate because the answers I got were not acceptable, but I was being nice. And I didn't say no. Like, this is, I asked the person, could I send a void check and your office deal with it? And that question didn't get answered and I let it go. And so I see that I wasn't my usual with the phone company. and yeah, I'm not sure what to do with that. And I don't know the training they have, so I didn't notice how he was managing me.
Yeah, he might be trained in some other method. What comes up for me is, Melinda, do you feel like you had a clear request? Like, did you go into it with a clear condition of satisfaction for you?
No, and so no, the other thing I hear is, what was my intention for calling? Well, my intention was that the money be taken out of my account, but I didn't clearly expect it. I didn't clearly express it. I said, I'm calling because there's this problem, but I didn't say, I'm calling for you to help me to fix this. And word it in a way that was more precise. And instead of going to the problem, I'm requesting that we find a solution.
Yeah, that's what I heard, without being on the call and knowing it. I think what can be so helpful when going into conversations like that, so we don't have to feel like we're dukes up and kind of ready to brawl or escalate, is to just have, what does that picture of success look like? What are the conditions of satisfaction, to use Lightyear language, of this conversation? What will satisfy me so that I can very clearly and regulatedly, like in a regulated way, request it? I request that the money is automatically taken out of my account every month when the date is due. And that can be the request. That's it. You don't have to backpedal or focus on what the problem is. Just say that is what I request, and hand it over to them, and then listen. Yes? No, yes. We can't do that, but we can do it the day after. I don't know, that would seem weird. Or a commitment. We don't know if there's a broken system or something, and we'll get back to you. And then if they don't say by when can I request a response, or when can I expect a response by? Yeah. That's what I hear, is just to be, I just feel like when I've been in many situations similarly where I go in and I'm like, this should be easy. Why is it hard? Like, it frustrates me when technology things are complicated, when in this day and age it should be simple, I feel. And that's like one of my biggest triggers. And so I go into it frustrated and react it, right, in a reactive state. And that's not a clear headspace for me to be in, to be that calm, active listener and set them up for success.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. That's great. And then from this conversation, I'm getting from my second example is, it's not precise, but often when I ask a question of my husband, the answer is, I don't know. His most common answer is, I don't know. And of course, it's, for me, frustrating. And so what I'm getting now is to have a conversation with him outside of, I don't know, and say, I would like our conversation to be more fruitful. And so from now on, when you tell me I don't know, I will be digging to ask, is it yes? Is it no? Is it maybe later? Offer a different way of expressing what is it that he doesn't know.
Yes. And dig for that. And what is it?
Yeah.
And maybe he doesn't know, I don't know. I love Susanne. Susanne, maybe you can say it better than I do, but I quote you often in my head where it's like, I know you don't know, but if you did know, what would you do?
Yes, that's a good one.
Dorothy.
I feel like I'm in the Matrix when I say that.
Alicia, could I ask you, here's what I feel would be really fun for you to do very briefly. So the specific things that we're talking about here for effective communication come in what we call in Lightyear cycle 4, when we're fulfilling things. But it could be that there's another one of the 5 cycles, which you'd learn in integrated leadership, that your husband needs to be in. So Alicia, there's, connection and alignment. Yeah. So that's, I have to use my Nia background, because I teach dance, and Colette will laugh, but this is nurturing. We always want to nurture the connection and alignment. Then comes all of the possibilities. So that would be imagination and depth. And then there's the powerful conversation, which is really options and impact. Then there's fulfillment, and then there's appreciation and learning. So when you ask your husband a question, it could be that you're not actually in the fulfillment cycle yet, that he's still ruminating. And part of why I know Alicia wanted to lead this is that, look, I know how to make companies run. She knows how to make companies and teams run. Where this really matters, just listen to me. Look, there's mostly women here on this call. We've got maybe another guy, but it's really inside relationship and marriage, understanding and having a body sensation of where we are in a cycle as we're moving something from an intuitive idea to manifesting it in action in the world. That has helped me so much. It made me feel like in the Wizard of Oz, like I could see in color instead of black and white. So Alicia,
Thank you for calling KWB Mall. This is Pearl speaking. How may I assist you?
Oh, hi, Perla. You're unmuted. We love you, Perla.
Got it.
But it's perfect. So I love that. She's like, I have met her. That woman is gorgeous and amazing. And I'm probably throwing her off her game by saying that to her. Anyway, so Alicia, what would you say about how the cycles of success have helped your marriage?
Oh my gosh, so much. And I am identifying like 5 times today where I jumped straight into requesting a fulfillment cycle. And he was like, what are we doing? Like, what's the plan for today? So, yes, 100%. And I don't know is a very common response from my partner as well. Even simple things like, oh, what do you want to do for dinner? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Just listen to your body. Don't you know? It's when I'm my best self and when I'm communicating in a way with my partner and in the way that I know is effective. It's so life-changing. And actually it's really the thing that made like this life of mine come to life. My husband, I know this about him. He jumps to options and impact. He jumps to edit always. That's his default. I know that about him. Know this about the people in your lives. What is their default cycle? I am almost in a default of depth and imagination all the time. What else could it be? Like, I want to do this. I'm the visionary. And so to honor those cycles and a quick connect and align, it doesn't have to be like this, 5-day cycle. It can be a quick 30-second, hey, we're going to go to dinner later at 5:00. We want to leave. The girls have the, whatever, all the things. What sounds good to you? Maybe start thinking about it now, then start the cycle. I'm just using dinner as an example. It's kind of silly, but then start the options and impact. What do you think? What do I think? Let's talk about it. And then you can move into the fulfillment, which is like the actual committing and going. So I feel like when I slow down, and that's always what it is like slow down and honor the conversation, manage the conversation through those cycles. That is where it's like, I just am my best partner self.
Yeah.
It's really
that's
life-changing. Yes. Thank you for that reminder, Susanne.
Yeah. Melinda, what's your husband like? I don't think I've ever met him.
No, you haven't. He's fantastic. He's
Fantastic.
Yes. He's always willing to help and always willing to do things for me. And yes.
Well,
he's under a lot of pressure with me.
He's under a lot of pressure. So it could be his protection phrase. It could be what he says to wait for you to be clearer in your requests.
Yes.
Because he wants to win with you.
Yes. So like, no, yes, 100%. And often he actually doesn't have a point of view. I ask, do you prefer this or that? And he doesn't know because it doesn't matter to him.
Okay.
And so there's those type of option, and or sometimes he'd like to think about it, but not right now. So I don't know. And thinking about it right now is not an option. And so for me, what there could be makes a difference between the different I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you're like, okay, you need more time. I know it. I'm okay. I'm okay to drop it. And I'll ask you again tomorrow at the same time.
Yeah. From our shared teacher, from Dorothy Espio, with this line of choice, there's the I don't know that's from wonder, and the I don't know that's from doubt. So if you can sense in your body, my sense is your husband maybe has some wonder. And also we probably all could take his workshop on detachment. He's probably learned how to like tread lightly and be happy in an agile relationship, which, like I said, I'll take his workshop, that's a good thing to have. So yeah, that's my sense about that. But those are both really good examples. Thanks for coming on and sharing about them.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having me, and thank you for having this event.
Yeah, so let's hear from one more person before Alicia lands us. And it could be something that you are seeing to do or coaching that you want. It could be It could be anything really. Around this idea of being more effective. Ooh, Alicia, you've got one on the line.
Colette, I see Colette and Rachel. Yeah, Colette, let's hear Colette. Go for it.
Okay, I can do mine fast because talking to Melinda or listening to Melinda kind of helped me see where I was off too. So mine is planning, like my husband and I, in terms of vacation or what we're going to do and where we're going to go, is like, so many of my friends say, oh, okay, so in May we're doing this, July we're doing this, and December we're doing this. And because my husband works in commercials, he has to take work when it comes. And so we've always kind of lived in this place of like not planning, and then we don't plan, and then we have to buy really expensive airline tickets because we haven't planned, and then it's like everything's last minute. So my goal this year was to get out a calendar and plan the year in a way, you know, like, because we need to go to Durango, Colorado to visit his parents. And then we want to go to New York to visit our daughter. And yet it all kind of becomes wishy-washy. So I see that I live in depth and imagination, like, you know, oh, we'll go here and then like we'll take a weekend trip there, but it never becomes solid because we don't seem to communicate well around just making a commitment, like commit to commit. Because I've said to Ronnie, when do you want to go to Durango? And he's like, I don't know, sometime in May. And it's like, doesn't work that way. Like we have to buy tickets and plan it. And I have to tell my, you know, my boss that I'm leaving. So I'm not sure how to align with that. But I'm seeing, yeah.
Well, what are you seeing? Because it sounds like you were about to say
Well, I'm
something.
seeing that it kind of floats in the air and I keep kind of talking about it. And then when we get close enough, he does fulfillment. He's like, let's just buy the ticket. Like getting, like helping him, not manage him. I need to manage the conversation better. I think maybe I'm not being specific enough and requesting a by when. Like I can see how I'm kind of letting it float around.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I heard was like, when do you want to go?
Right.
Sometime in May. I mean, that is, I suppose, a proper response to that question, you know? And so, and it's still a great question. When do you want to go? Sometime in May. Okay, great. Let's get deeper. Like you're listening for that uncommitted response, or the response that you're not sort of satisfied with the level of commitment on. Then you dig a little bit deeper. Then you can pull in the request, you know, like the request sort of format of I request we have a date by the 18th or whatever, you know, or I request a conversation with you and I'd love to solidify a date. Can you come to that, you know, wine and conversation with that sort of thought through and be ready to work through that. If you're in depth imagination and he's in whatever other cycle as a default, then you can come to that conversation with more specifics. That's kind of what I heard initially.
Yeah. And I think I can see now in my behavior, I want him to do the work, like him to make a commitment, as opposed to me saying, okay, we're going the second week of May. Like, look at your calendar. I don't have anything. You don't have anything. How's the weather? You know, I really want him to, so I kind of leave it in the ethers a little bit so that I don't have to be responsible for making the decision, which is also kind of.
Yeah, now that's honest.
Yeah. And that's a request. Like that's a request you can make to him. I request you be more involved in the planning or, you know, whatever is the sort of buried commitment there. It's very relatable. I can relate to that, but I think that's the honest, like Susanne said, request to make.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, Colette, can I throw just like a piece of information out there? Yeah. So a lot of airlines now, if you're booking tickets, they don't charge like a change fee. So like I've booked flights to capture the cheaper price for trips that I think I'm going to go on well in advance. And then it becomes, 2-3 weeks around the trip, and it's like, yep, I can still go. Then I go, and I have that flight booked. And so, but then if I can't go, it's okay, am I adjusting this and using this flight credit for a date later within that month? Or is it just nope, I'm going to cancel this, and then I use that flight credit for the next flight in like 2 or 3 months? So I've done that many, many times. And then also I use booking.com a lot for vacation bookings. And when you book those hotels, a lot of them have like a free cancellation up until 5 days before you show up. So because with Paul, with his schedule with rugby, it was, okay, I know he's not available from January to June. And then even though he has 2 or 3 months off, sometimes like our plans were wishy-washy. So I just went ahead and I said, I want to go here around this time. I'm booking tickets, and if we can go, we're going. And if we can't, then we'll shift it to some other time. So just throwing that out there.
So helpful.
Great
Thank
tip.
you.
Yeah.
And I had another volleyball ism. When you're playing defense in volleyball, you can't cover the whole court with your partner. And so sometimes, right, you try to cover 75% of the court based on your positioning of where you are, depending on the line or the hit shot that you're trying to cover. And sometimes shots are just so good, and spaces where you're like, I know they usually hit that cross shot 10% of the time, and if they hit that, that's just a great shot. And I'm willing to give up that space. And so I'm kind of like with your husband, is there like a parameter you can use with him to say, if a commercial, we have these set plans, and if a commercial comes in and say it's, you'd only make $500 on it, that's a pass, So like some parameter there of this trip is worth it to us. And if a job comes in and it's $10,000 for you to make, yes, we'll change the plans. But if it's not this lower ceiling, then we're not going to change plans. Just an idea. The volleyball thing there. So, don't know.
We got two volleyball references in the
Two
call.
volleyball
That's
things.
awesome. I thought Chrissy was going to offer some advice about Colorado. Like,
Oh, me too.
Like, what
Come
are
on
you
up to Durango. Come on up to Durango. It's great. You've been there.
Oh,
Thanks, Chrissy.
thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the call out. We're at time, and I want to be time integrous for everyone. So I just want to land and say, if you felt lit up by this and you're like, I need more of this, I need more effectiveness and getting my projects and my goals checked off, I am leading integrated leadership starting March 9th. All the information is on the Lightyear Hub, and you can also reach out to me directly if you have any questions. And additionally, Daniel McCall and I are going to be co-leading another community light hours on the 15th of February on converting complaints into commitments. So again, we're going to keep getting stuff done. We're going to keep the momentum going. And I will send the recording out. It'll be available on the Lightyear YouTube channel after this if you want to reference it or share it with anybody. And I promise to send out the tools by end of day tomorrow for Mary Grace and Suzanne. Suzanne, anything else you want to say?
Good job. Good job, everybody. It was wonderful to see you all. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Alicia, for living your dream and being committed to me. It's great.
Thank you. Thanks for everything. Appreciate you all. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Promises.
Bye.
Thank you, Alicia. Bye.
Bye, Melinda.
Aw.
Oh, I love her.